It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on a great viewer question, and that is how to calm the mind down, how to reduce anxiety, how to really get focused and come back into your own body so you can feel like you're living in tune with your own positive nature, your own positive feelings, things that lead to your interests, that lead to your joy, that lead to your bliss, that gives your feeling of connectedness with life versus the disconnect that you feel when you're in an anxious state. And we are sort of doing a couple of videos series in a segment here, something is in a series because we've had some of the heat on the camera, which is causing things to shut down, so I apologize. So I've got kind of a little bit of a shaded location here, and sort of we're kind of on the water's edge here. Beautiful day. Forgive me if I'm sweating, so it's just nice and hot and humid, so it's really sort of a purge of the sweat over here. So thank you so much for hanging in there. So we're really kind of zooming in on how do you calm the mind down? How do you calm the body down? How do you calm down physiology? You know, how do you begin then so that you can feel more coherent, more within your own skin once again? More like you're being true to yourself and you're not living in constant fear or trepidation of being manipulated or not knowing how to follow through on things, not knowing how to feel comfortable, secure, being responsible and accountable to yourself, namely, and then to others. So when we talk about healing through a relationship that has been plagued by emotional manipulation, trauma bonds, someone who has a superior sense of self-importance, entitlement, they exploit others, they violate others' boundaries, they help themselves to the life of others, and they just really sort of get the best of you. They get, they get to you. Like I spoke with a lady yesterday who was describing the experience of her good friend who had been manipulated by someone who is psychopathic and someone who was a con man. And she said she was sharing with her, in other words, she was sort of purging through and going through a lot of the things that, because she was in this petrified state. She had lost thousands of dollars, and she said, she never saw it coming, and she said that, it just got her. The things that they said and did really sort of got under her skin and took her life away to the point where she was just, wasn't living her own life. That's really the fear when you're in a relationship with emotionally manipulative individuals, someone who is malignant, narcissistic, psychopathic, on that whole spectrum of personality disorder, and then getting into the antisocial, is that there's a sense of violation of your boundaries. It's as if you don't matter. It's as if whatever you're doing, they can distract you from, they can pull you off of, they can knock you down from. So any sort of inch you try to make forward, they're there to make sure they cut you down, cut you underneath, where it hurts. Oftentimes in your core, your solar plexus, your sense of self, your sense of vision, your sense of hearing, your sense of taste, your sense of feeling, your sense of movement, and then your spiritual, and then your whole intuition gets sort of misfiring, and then you're living in the fight or flight. You're always trying to keep a step ahead, a step back, and prepare for and prevent the next rage outburst. So when we talk about emotional manipulation, it's to understand that these individuals have an insatiable need for attention, for admiration. They love to have people either in a fight, they love having people fight over them, they love to anger people, they love to disappoint, let down, and so that you're always again reacting, even if it's trying to trying to say I'm sorry, or try to improve yourself so you can satisfy them even more. So an internal locus of control is completely it's diffused. There is no inner sort of locus of control. There is no inner flame. There is no inner torch. There is no then sort of core. And so you can feel depersonalized, dehumanized, and then this causes a lot of anxiety. Anxiety meaning agitation, fear state, feeling like you can't make it just as you are. You need something. You begin acting in. You know, if they're not there to yell and disappoint, well then here comes the acting in, the self-sabotage, the self-talk that says, you know, you are an idiot, you are miserable, you can't do a thing right, and then here comes the tears flowing, the anger, feeling like, you know, no matter what you do, it's not good enough. So it's an acting in. And so it's because the story that you're telling yourself is to be in connection and congruent with that previous story. So in other words, I think of it like carrying the torch or carrying the baton. Do you ever remember maybe in school, or you've seen it in the Olympics, it's like the relay race, where if it's like a baton. Here's like a little piece of grass. It's like, here comes the narcissist projecting anger onto you, all their own hostility, all their own issues, all their aggression, all their rage, all their disappointment with themselves, which is just always going. And so they project it onto you, and then they give it to you so that they don't have to deal with it. It's like a passing of the baton. And you feel their anger, and then you kind of live as an expression of their anger, of their hostility. So you then become, you know, like almost like a figurehead for their fears, for their insecurity, for their inferiority complex. So that, you know, if they can always point at how unsatisfactory you are, it's so that they can always feel better about themselves. So it's a self-serving mechanism for them to cause you to feel this anxiety. And then it's the acting in because you're so used to it. So it's to understand then that state that you're looking for of being okay is really, you have to understand the cause that's created this effect. And to realize that if you're so always kind of like looking again for things outside of yourself to perhaps give you that at peace state, that at one blissful state, is to say, well, you know, should I drink? Should I take medical marijuana? We had a great viewer question that asked about that. You know, if you're having trouble sort of separating yourself from the cause that has created the effect within you, that anxiety, that fight or flight, it is because the story you're telling yourself is on those anxiety lines. So whether you are doing this consciously or unconsciously, you need to become aware and conscious of it. And oftentimes, you know, you don't hear these negative words, but you feel the negative feelings. So for every feeling state, there is a verbal state, there is a word state. So if you're anxious, you need to kind of put 5 to 10 words to that feeling. And what is that anxiety state? I'm going to get yelled at. I'm going to get shouted out. I'm going to get beat up. I'm going to become violated on my boundaries, and I'm not going to know how to protect myself. What is that feeling state? What is the message of that feeling state? Why can't you go and follow your interests? Why, you know, and so if you can answer that and realize that it's important to put limitations on that anxiety because it's not serving you, it's unhealthy. But sometimes, you know, you need to help enhance the peaceful state. You need to spend time coming into nature, looking at a very serene lake, you know, seeing the dragonflies, you know, dart around, and just see, you know, the little minnows that might be swimming up in here, hearing like a little fish jump in the distance, hearing the, you know, the birds play with each other, you know, just to kind of soak up some sun and sort of get into a more relaxed state. So you need to, and then get that and then have that to carry with you, and then make these your new memories that you reflect upon. And then rather than pushing away and alienating yourself and being angered by the anxiety, it's to get it out, and then, you know, get it out on the page, namely through the recovery journal. Any sort of state that has been bottled up through anxiety needs to be released. It's you have to look at the message in the anxiety. First of all, we're not going to say it's an easy thing. Let's just, you know, douse ourselves with a lot of medication and just numb ourselves out, because the eventual undergirding sort of lava, or like, you know, the foundation is still going to be like, it can eventually blow, it can sort of represent itself or rear its head, like what we see going on in Hawaii. It's going to bubble to the surface, and so you don't want to just sort of suppress it. You want to get out the bad stuff. You want to purge from the negative feelings. You want to write those out, and it might take a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple years, but eventually they will all come out. That's the amazing, beautiful thing, is that eventually, when you stay with it long enough, and if you have what I call AQ, application quotient, which means you continue to apply the tools. You continue consistently and with confidence, focus, and rapt attention. You stay and you take yourself seriously, and you say, you know what? I have one life to live. I'm going to enjoy it to the fullest. I am going to be comfortable. And so you have to then identify if, what then makes you then comfortable. For me, I like loose fitting clothing. I like to come out into nature. I love to feel the breeze. It's these sort of things are, on a very sentient way, are feeling good on me. These fabrics feel good. The little bit of breeze is like tickling my shoulders. These little plants and grasses, they're like massaging my skin. These are all natural. There's beautiful flowers, that are around. I love to see these natural little, I don't know, like wild clovers. I mean, they're just so precious, and I love the natural color. I mean, this is not genetically modified. This grows in nature. I mean, I love to come out and do this. I love to help people. So these are things that are calming and comforting to me, to know that I'm making a difference. And the sort of turquoise stones that I wear are very energizing for me. They connect me to the higher realms, the higher energy. And so they help to deflect and diffuse anxiety. So you need to calm down. You need to take note of, specifically for you, what helps you to come into a calm body. You might need to write things like, you might need to write the Serenity Prayer 1,000 times. You might need to, gaze upon a very serene lake. You might need to, go out and absorb some sunshine. You might need to get into meditation, mindfulness. You might need to slow things down and get the foundation set within you so you can speed it up and, continue on your journey. You might need to listen to some very calming drumming music, flute music, some of the shamanic drums, the 432 hertz. You might need to surround yourself with the crystal singing bowls or the Zen chants that get that sort of, ooh, sort of sensation within you. You might like to just get away from the noise pollution, the things that are agitating you. You might need to then consume, and then re-sensitize yourself. I talk very much in the book that I'm writing, and the website is sort of re-sensitizing yourself and getting into really in touch with, things that are very healing for you. Healing touch, getting a massage, self-massage. Once again, comfortable clothing, things that help release you, things that flow, that help you get into the flow. I had a great viewer question that asked about, well, what about medical marijuana for things like, reduction of anxiety, getting you into sort of that sort of peaceful, harmonic state. And, medical marijuana is kind of taking the forefront right now of some very innovative and provocative research in terms of the strains that they're growing, so that they don't really sort of get somebody in that sort of psychoactive state, but they get people into a reduction of pain state. So, they're reducing pain for people who have like multiple sclerosis, cancer, post-traumatic stress syndrome, high anxiety. So they are giving out a lot of these, and I'm not sure where you all live, and I know in Canada it is very highly and readily available and readily used. And so if you need something to get you into a positive culture psychoactively, within your neurotransmitters, where you really want and perhaps need to have a boost, a help. I have no problem with people seeking out these natural remedies. But you have to become aware of and just be bold enough to say, I need help. If you are in an anxiety state, and we're going to get into a lot more here in another video about some things that have recently been going on in the news, the very hugely tragic loss of Kate Spade as well as Anthony Bourdain. Anthony Bourdain is one of my favorite people, so inspirational. He really has been a life changer for so many people, as I've mentioned in previous videos, like with Netflix and his, I think it's called Places Unknown or Parts Unknown. I'm not good at remembering those titles, but he's absolutely incredible in his view on different cultures and food and so much with that culture. And so we're going to talk about that in another video. But when it comes to sort of, what are some substances or things that you can do to enhance your calm state, your bliss state, your sort of serenity and everything is wow state. You want to get into that wow, like everything is wow. So to calm down within your body, you need to hit it from many angles. It's just like this. If there's a child who's in a troubled household, they need help from school, from church, from their community. They need it to come from all angles. So you need to really get into some adjustments. And if you're finding that a lot of the tools that we discuss are not sort of taking root within, and you need to say, I need help. I mean, if your sleep is disturbed, if you have such severe post-traumatic stress syndrome, you cannot leave the house, you cannot eat, your routine is wackadoodle, you are afraid, you're afraid of other people, you will never trust again. These sort of really serious things, you do need to ask for help. You don't need to go on living this way. There are things, God has created the plants, the animals, and humans to interact and to use these. Just as the bee, nature uses the bee to pollinate and is responsible for so many of the things that, we eat and have. I mean, it's all interconnected. So it's to then take from the earth. The earth is a powerful healer. So let's just get into this for a moment. The earth itself is a powerful healer, Mother Earth. She will take away your negative energy. As you sit on the earth, as I sit here, and my body, I am on a kind of a flannelly blanket with like a fleecy situation underneath. So as I can feel the negative energy sort of, going, or whatever, this sort of rush that modern today's society has put us in, the information overload, information age that we're in. And I feel myself calming down and being able to focus. So I love to be highly productive. I'm a go-getter, but I need to have that balance. And so for me to do that, it is to understand, if you're in that wow, bliss, I love life state, you might need to take some healing from the earth. You might need to, take your recovery from many angles and do many things altogether. Medical marijuana, going to someone who is licensed to prescribe this for you. And there's, I personally don't take this, and I do watch a lot of podcasts, there's all sorts of information that is available on studies and different doctors and different specialties, oncologists, MS specialists, neurologists, psychoneurologists. They are all studying the effects, and it is FDA approved in many states as of this year, 2018. And so to be FDA approved just means it has to go through a rigor of studies and then show results. Holy guacamole, there was like a huge fish that just jumped over there, and it made like a huge splash. And so anyway, so did you see my fear came up when I was reacting? That's an anxiety state, but I'm like, wow, that's cool. So you want to get into that wow, I love life state. And so if you need, and if it's your personality style to take healing things from the earth, healing sounds, healing winds, healing visions, healing substances, eating, you know, if you need assistance, go and look into medical marijuana. My opinion is that you have to see what is right for your personality. For some people, it can have a very positive healing effect. It slows the brain down, from what studies have said. You know, there's had a lot of anti-seizure effects for children who have had, like, you know, who've been plagued by seizures, and they take this medical marijuana, either through like edibles or other capsule forms, or there's even like an IV for very serious people. But there's like, you have to release the stigma, the quote unquote, you know, it's a drug dealer, yada yada, whatever stigma society has plagued, you know, on that. You know, look at it for the healing effect, just like eating, you know, vegetables, fruits and vegetables. It's part of that same, you know, kingdom, but yet it has to be in a taken in, ingested in a positive state that is best for you. So to look at furthermore at that is to say then, okay, what fits my physiological makeup as it stands right now? Is this my personality type to be able to look for something alternative? In other words, do I groove with that? Would I prefer to take something which is natural and organic and safe versus taking like a antidepressant that is in the prescribed form? You know, right now there are many antidepressants that are very gentle, which can be used to, you know, SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which create and make available more serotonin in the brain, so you're in a more positive mental state. Things don't bother you as much, and you know, it can be a very perfect, source for you to get into that, you know, balanced state. It can assist you then, so that what the changes you're trying to make will take root. And so, furthermore, you know, there's so there are all sorts of different types. Whether it's there's, you know, medical marijuana dispensaries. So you need to go and get a meet with a doctor who has a specific license in this, and you need to do an application. And then you can go to, once you have that, oh my God, there was a sticky something. Then once you have that, that ability, then you can just stop by this dispensary, and I believe you can kind of pick up from like a menu. You know, Joe Rogan talks about in California, there's called Speedy Wheat or something like this, where they actually deliver this sort of stuff to you, and you order it from like a menu. Very, very innovative and progressive. And a lot of people have really had a lot of very healing effects from this. Personally, I have not taken it, so I can't speak to as a live subject, but there are a lot of like blogs, and you know, you can get testimonies from people on different strains. You know, in other words, there's different strains that are out there that can create for specific conditions. So if you have you know, multiple sclerosis, or, you know, pain from that disease, there are specific strains of this medical marijuana which are healing. For anti-anxiety, you know, there's different strains, so you can learn about it. And I would say, you know, look also to make sure that, you know, you're not looking at things as a crutch, a band-aid, and that also that you know, you're utilizing all the other healing tools in conjunction, so you just don't rely on only one. You don't say, this is the panacea, I'm just going to go and do edible, you know, medical marijuana, and like, I'm just gonna, you know, just, you know, have my life just dissipate away. You know, keep your goals and objectives, you know, keep proactive in your own life, and keep the structure for reinforcing your boundaries and standards that will help you to live in that more calm state. But, you know, you can look into this. You know, if you really, if it is severe, you know, and it's really causing, you know, upheaval and problems and issues in your life, you know, you need to ask for help. And so, you know, a lot of people do favor the natural elements because Earth has provided so many healing opportunities. You know, go fishing. You might find that very calm and meditative, just to be at a lake. You might like to do things with your hands, like making jewelry, like building things with your hands, building, you know, little creative things that, you know, having creative projects, a go-to thing that you know, maybe like to do as a child. You know, there are so many healing things that the earth has to provide. Healing low anxiety foods. When you go and you eat more live enzymes, E3 live, all the vegetable kingdom, you know, the fruit and vegetable kingdom has so many live enzymes. So when you ingest it, you take on the natural sun energy, you know, sun and soil. You know, when you eat, you know, plants that are, you know, if you go to like a farmer's market and you eat and ingest those salads, you know, all the beautiful, wonderful variety of greens, natural peas, natural different strains of mushrooms, you know, begin to kind of expand your mind on the healing that comes from the earth. You know, go and look at, you know, how nature is designed. Begin to look at ecological systems. Begin to look at the elements, you know, the importance of water, the importance of sun, you know, the fire, the wind, you know, the earth. Look at, you know, and study sort of these very elementals. And anytime you feel agitated or anxious, ask yourself, what is it about this on an elemental level is causing this agitation? And begin to sort of boil it down like the Native Americans did into either directions or the elements. So in other words, if things are too stressful, is there too much the presence of fieriness, or is it too hot? Is it too heavy? Is it too earthy? Is it too windy? Is there too much chaos going on? You know, is there too much water? Is there too much flow and not a blend of these elements? So begin to study even things like, you know, some of the shamanic or Native American traditions. You know, find out what these people did to become in harmony with nature, because that's what it really is. It's a gratitude which of your connection and how you're holding your life, how life is holding you so dearly, but you can only see it and know it and feel it and embrace it once you're in this calm mind state. So you need to kind of come and calm into your own body, you know, re-sensitize yourself, begin to, you know, and then, I mean, look at all, you know, use all your senses to take in the healing energy where you have a sense of awe and wonder. You know, the feeling states that you desire, instead of anxiety, let's go ahead and write them down from 1 through 20. What are some feeling states that I would rather experience than anxiety? What, and in other words, what would I like? Ooh, ah, that's cool, that's awesome, that is wonderful, that is excellent, that is fascinating, that is magnificent, that is miraculous, that is divine, that is a godsend, that is, you know, that is incredible. You know, what are some reactions that you would like to feel and experience within yourself? And then let's then connect to that feeling state that you want to be in, and then let's connect and understand the behaviors that lead to that experience. So, you know, if you say, oh my God, that is incredible, you know, do you find that in nature? You know, I can go out and I can see, you know, what's so incredible to me is I'm sitting here and I'm just going to pluck one out. Here is like the tiniest of plants. I mean, this guy is so tiny and he's just like peeking out, and it's just like a little tiny design. To me, that is so cute. You know, they're all just growing and sitting here, and they're so beautiful. All their different shapes, how they all flow together. You know, this grass is kicking it with this other one little plant, with this bigger tree, and then the water. You know, they're all in their element. So to me, that gives me the ooh and the ah, and it's just so, I see that nature is so abundant. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day on Joe Rogan, and he had a guest on who was talking about the fact that there are like 4 million types of mushrooms. I mean, if that doesn't blow your mind, you know, I mean, nature is abundant. So it's like getting in tune with that and then getting into that excited, you know, so it's coming from alchemizing, you know, anxiety to the I am excited. And so, you know, and so you need and want to get yourself there, you know, so we need to connect and find what gives you that feeling state. Is it looking at churches? Is it looking at photographs? Is it being able to have an earning power? Is it being able to be an orator or to be a presenter? Is it to be a designer? You know, do you want to work with fabrics? Do you want to work with like graphic arts? Do you want to work with mixed media? Do you want to get into theater or music? You know, each person is so different, but if you've been in that anxiety state, you know, you're living in, you're catering to anxiety, you're allowing anxiety to rob you of the feeling state that you want to be in. I want to be in physical shape, you know, but, you know, so in other words, that's going to be your best, you know, you're going to be in your best, you know, when you're in shape. So, you know, what do you need to do to get there? Do you need to get some shoes? Do you need to get some walking shorts? Do you need to get a tank top? Do you need to get some sunglasses? Do you need to get a hat? Do you need to get some sunscreen, bug repellent? Make a list of all, you know, then let's take then the behaviors that you need to do to get you into that aha, feel good state. So for some people, it's like getting a divorce. Like, let's just get down to it, and we're going to wrap it up here. But there might be some radical changes. Make sure you make note if there's some radical changes. Make sure you put those on your list, and then the behaviors that you're going to do instead of feeling anxious. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.